am very mindful that I had hopes and dreams, and I'm living the hopes, and I've achieved the dreams, right? But I also understand that I am the exception, not the rule.
So in the first half of the second part of Jonathan's interview, pay attention to Jonathan's experience with realizing how some folks have more and some folks have less, and how that affected his life personally.
Yeah, I particularly love the background story on the story that ended up winning Jonathan the Pulitzer Prize, which was about the financial mismanagement and the corruption of the Apollo Theater Foundation in Harlem. Good story.
Welcome to Living Not So Fabulously, where unfiltered truth meets your bottom line with a faint sound of the Wizard of Oz soundtrack in the background.
Jonathan Capehart is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, MSNBC anchor, and former Washington Post opinion writer, known for his sharp political insight and fearless authenticity. As a Black, openly gay voice in American media, Jonathan has built a career speaking truth with style. In his new memoir, Yet Here I Am, Lessons from a Black Man's Search for Home, is a powerful reflection on identity, resilience, and fighting home.
We became fans of Jonathan, and because he and David Brooks have probably the most sane debates, political debates, each Friday night on PBS NewsHour. So we're super fans, and we're super excited for this interview.
Exactly. It's like having your daily politics in today's environment with a little bit of chamomile tea. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Hi, John David, thank you very much. I feel like I should have a teacup. Dipping my...
we actually have ours.
Oh. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
So let's now pivot to your memoir here, Yet Here I Am. You talk about noticing as a kid... plug. I love it. You talked about in your book about noticing as a kid that there were children who had clothing and toys and opportunities that you didn't necessarily have access to. How did those comparisons, especially in your early years, your formative years, form your relationship with money and what it meant to have it, not have it, and how you thought about your career or maybe acquiring money or security as you got older?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, the toys thing, keep in mind, when I was growing up, my father died when I was 4 months old. So it was just me and my mom until she remarried when I was 16. And for my mother, this was the 70s and 80s. So when I was a kid in the late 70s, early 80s, and we would go to the mall, my mother would say, I am not going into any toy stores. Don't even think about it, not going. But if we go into Barnes and Noble, because that was the bookstore in the mall, any book you want, I'll get it. And that was part of my mother's hammering away at education. I want you to read. I want you, and she constantly said, you are going to college. And it was sort of like a double-edged threat. The threat part being, if you are 18 and you are not enrolled in college, you are moving out because I am not taking care of a grown man. And so that's one part of it. But then when it came to just sort of thinking about where I was in the socioeconomic dynamic of everything in America, that part kicked in the 1980s. And I don't know how old you guys are, but in the 1980s, it was all wealth, glamour. It was Dynasty, Dallas, lifestyles of the rich and famous. I mean, it was all just consumerism. It was just abundance, everything. That's when we saw the McMansions sprouting up everywhere. And so, I'm growing up in that time and looking around and I'm realizing, we're not broke, but we're not that. And so that was part of the dynamic. And growing up in that time, I think I write in the book that one of the guys I went to high school with in the last few years when we moved back to Newark School, Charles Wiggum, or Charlie Wiggum, or Chucky as he was known, very handsome, wealthy, prominent family in Newark, and he was a nice guy, and we were friends. And I looked at him and I thought, I want to be him. I want to be handsome and rich. I put it plainly in the book. And I think I was about what, 17, 18 years old when that was running through my mind.
And what was it about that resonated so much with you?
What, the wanting to be rich, wanting not to have to worry about, seemingly worry about anything, be able to go where you want, when you want, buy whatever you want. Of course, that's the teenage imagination of what it means to be rich or what it means to be wealthy. When you get to this age, you realize, oh, you've got to work your behind off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are
And
no
all that money comes with
weekends.
problems.
Right. Well, maybe not problems, taxes.
Yeah, right. I do think that it's interesting though. You were talking about what you were talking about there is the ability to go where you want and do the things you want. That's one of the things that John and I talk about, especially for the queer community, is that wealth gives us options. And for a lot of LGBT people right now, especially the option to be able to say, I'm not going to live in this state or I'm not going to live in this household anymore because I have the financial ability to say, I'm going to remove myself from this toxic environment is so important.
It's important, but the time that we're living in now, that ability to move and go where we feel safe, where we are comfortable, where our existence is acknowledged and is doesn't put a target on our back, that is even more limited now than it was on January 19th,
Yeah. You're right.
2025.
Yeah.
And we've seen families of trans kids who have had to leave their home states because of the target that state governments, the federal government have put on their children's backs. And now, we just talked about Obergefell, where where's the safe haven? Even if you were to go to Big Blue New York or Big Blue California, there's only so much Governor Newsom is going to be able to do to protect LGBTQ people in his state if the federal government, if the Supreme Court does things that reverses and takes away our rights.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One moment, Jonathan. We're going to take a quick break here. Welcome back to Living Not So Fabulously. We're back talking with the author of the new book, Yet Here I Am, Lessons from a Black Man's Search for Home, political journalist Jonathan Capehart. Plug, plug, plug.
I can't resist. Sorry.
No, it's your PR person. People are training you well. So, as a Black, openly gay journalist working in a predominantly white, straight male space, how did you learn to protect your confidence and yourself when you were essentially the only one in the room?
I mean, part of it is naivete, you know, growing up and, being surrounded by family and other people who told me you can do and be whatever you want. When I was growing up, a big head news nerd, and telling everybody in my family, I'm going to be a news commentator as early as age 10. And I can only imagine what they thought as I said that, how crazy they must have thought I was, because they're at that time and still today, at that time, there were no writers, no journalists, no television reporters or anchors, no one in television in my family. I am the only one who's all of those things. And yet, no one in my family said, no, you can't do that. Or no one planted the seeds of doubt that I would be able to. I mean, if anything, my mother would just listen to me and she would say, well, I know you'll do it. And she had no idea how I would do it. Neither did I. I had no roadmap, a big dream and no roadmap. And so, that's just one part of it. But you push, 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 you get into these rooms and you see that you are the only one. Now, you have to keep in mind, my growing up, by the time I got to the New York Daily News as an editorial writer, and was the only black person in the room, or by the time I got to the Washington Post, and for most of my time on the editorial board, the only black person in the room, I grew up being the only black kid in class. And so I was used to being the only one. And when you grow up being the only one and you move from grade school to high school to college to the professional world, you have built up a way of being, a way of existing, a way of navigating those spaces that, I think maybe gave me a tiny bit of an advantage over someone who didn't have that same upbringing. But that's not to say that, it's terribly easy, because it is very much like walking a tightrope in the middle of the night in a rainstorm and it's windy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you built up a muscle over time
Yeah.
and have been able to execute on that.
Right. I really appreciate your sharing the fact that your mother wasn't putting up barriers for you. Even I think even today, when we have friends or colleagues and they share something with us that they want to do, many of us lean into, yeah, whatever, probably not. And in our way that we maybe express that to them, good luck with that. Those kinds of comments are not necessarily reinforcing with, yes, you can do what you want to do. And I think we maybe all need to check ourselves when somebody is sharing their hopes and dreams with us.
Yes, because remember, those are hopes and dreams. And we have to remember that, and I am very mindful that I had hopes and dreams, and I'm living the hopes, and I've achieved the dreams, right? But I also understand that I am the exception, not the rule. Most people have their dreams beaten out of them, and rhetorically beaten out of them, either by people casting doubt on their dreams or they think they are trying to protect them or trying to um, get their expectations in check. And by doing that, are planting these seeds of doubt into the mind of the dreamer. And suddenly
Hmm.
the dreamer is having doubts. Well, maybe, I don't know. Am I smart enough to do that? Maybe I'm not as good. Maybe I don't come from the right family. Maybe, and this is the one that drives me crazy. Maybe, well, I don't want to seem like I'm getting too big for my britches. I'm
Hmm.
sorry. This is
Yep.
America.
Right.
You have to, this country has a lot of issues and a lot of problems, but the one thing that it has done, it has allowed the dreamers to really run and achieve their dreams. And I've seen way too many people allow their dreams to be snuffed out. And if anything, I tell young people, I tell mid-career people, I even tell myself, you know, what's the thing that you're passionate about? What is it? And it doesn't even have to be professional. We put so much emphasis on success and dreams being tied to money, being tied to um, finances, when it could be that someone's passion, what they really care about is they want to be an actor, they want to be a regional theater stage producer. Success to me is however the individual defines it for themselves. And if
Mhm.
that person feels like they are the richest person on earth because they jump out of bed in the morning just to do that thing, and it brings them such fulfillment, how is that person not successful? How are they not?
Right.
And so you are right, David. Folks should check how they talk to people who share with them their dreams, because if they're sharing their dreams with you, that means they trust you because they know what can happen if they share their dreams and someone snuffs them out. It hurts.
Hmm.
It does. So I'm curious, did your earlier awareness of income inequality and the books that you read, was that did that all form this inspirational outlook on life for you, help you manage your career and I'm assuming also your finances?
Um, no, I'm That's a great question, and I've never really thought of it that way. I guess as I've gotten older, I realize more and more that my empathy gene is very big, and I always maybe it's the empathy gene, it's the reporter in me where looking. I'm sitting across from someone, I'm having a conversation with them, and as they're talking, I'm putting myself in their shoes. I'm literally trying to see the world through their eyes and from their vantage point. And, you see someone who's struggling and they're doing all the right things, or they've made a mistake and they're trying to figure out how to get back on track. Um, those sorts of stories always grab my attention. Uh, and America loves a comeback story. America loves to build people up and then smack them off the pedestal like they're in American Gladiator. And then we all watch to see, okay, how they are they going to scramble their way back up? Are they going to have a second act? And Americans always love a second act. And I am always looking to see, well, how can I be helpful in that second act?
I love that.
Hmm.
I kind of feel like we're seeing that right now with Lindsay Lohan. He's having a great comeback story right now. So I'm curious. I've never won a Pulitzer Prize before. As a Pulitzer Prize winner, how did that moment change the way you saw yourself? Was that sort of like, this is what I've been aspiring to, or was that sort of an affirmation of everything you've been working towards, or what did that moment exactly mean for you?
Well, I mean, I would say it was an affirmation. It was certainly not anything I was gunning for, and certainly wasn't anything we were pushing for when we set out to try to save the Apollo Theater in Harlem, which is, what won us the Pulitzer. We were just trying to save a national treasure. And I remember this one state official, a former journalist, came up to me as, the editorials were coming out and we were creating a commotion. We were also the only people out there doing it. The Times, the television stations had not jumped on yet. And he said to me, he goes, you're going to win a Pulitzer. And I looked at him like he had 12 heads. Like, what are you talking about? Win a Pulitzer? You are nuts. We'll never, no, I'm not even entertaining that idea. And yet, as I write in the book, I take you through, how we found out that we were finalists, and then how we found out that we actually won. That particular week, I, I must have lost a good 5, 10 pounds because I could not keep anything down because when the board's meeting, when the phone call should come. I think the phone call came in a day later. So by then we were all nuts. And when the call did come in, our editor was out to lunch out of the building. So by the time he came back, we were like feral cats. We were just racing around. But when he told us we won, and then we had to sit on that news for 5 days, 5 days. Um, when it was finally announced, it was just otherworldly. It was surreal, at least for me, because again, that was never my goal. That was never my intention. That wasn't even on, what is that board the kids do now? The vision board.
Vision board.
That wasn't on there. There was no vision board. So to have it happen, to win the Pulitzer it was one of those things where I had to pinch myself and just like, can you believe this? There's also an expletive after that, but I won't say that.
So I'm curious, I'm going to do a callback here. We just got done talking about how we need to start checking ourselves when our friends or family are aspiring toward a dream that seems otherworldly to us. What would Jonathan Capehart today say to the Jonathan Capehart who looked at that guy with, like he had 12 heads, thinking that winning a Pulitzer Prize was not an option?
Interesting. Well, the key thing is that was him saying it. That wasn't me saying, wow, we're going to win a Pulitzer. But I think if I were to go back to that conversation, which was in 1998, so we're going back a ways. I'm not very good at math, but I know that's like 30 something, almost 30 years. Um, I would say don't don't be so quick to discount what he's saying because what you're doing it's important and the Pulitzer board might agree. So
Mhm.
keep that as
Have some
an
faith.
option. Yeah, have some faith. That's what I was looking for. Have some faith.
I think Jonathan's story, specifically his career, highlights how there are unique challenges with different demographics, and that it's important for us, for those of us who have privilege, to use that in ways that we can help others.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to all realize that we all have some platform, especially today in this current environment. We all have a platform of some sort. To the extent that we can use it to help others, the better for all of us. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you see, scan the QR code to follow Yahoo Finance Podcast for more videos and expert insight. And until next time,
Stay fabulous.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.